She was a dragon. Part 1. The Mystery of the Vanished Architect. Everyone thought it was just another pretty urban legend, until a gigantic, clawed footprint on a rain-slicked parking garage roof blocked the exit for 3 brand-new Audis. Officially, the police blamed a sinkhole and shoddy utility work. Unofficially, people in our metropolis preferred not to ask too many questions. The city was a masterclass in camouflage for anything that didn't fit into the mundane world. Among 30-story glass towers, smoking factory chimneys, the endless drone of traffic jams, and neon signs glowing through a relentless downpour, it was easy to hide anything, even a dragon. My name is Nora. To the clients of my modest private detective agency, Styx Partners, I am a sharp, mildly cynical private investigator in a permanent dark gray trench coat, fully capable of untangling any corporate espionage ring or tracking down a runaway cat. To the municipal database, I am an ordinary 30-year-old citizen with a clean tax history and a rented apartment on the 24th floor. But to the sky above this city, I am a 20-meter-long scaled beast whose breath can only be withstood by steel girders and whose wings crush nocturnal clouds like damp paper. Did you bring home another dead mouse? A screechy, profoundly snobbish voice rasped from the windowsill. I dropped my keys onto the entryway table and kicked off my soaked loafers. Perched proudly on the balcony, with its mottled chest puffed out and one talon tucked in, was Archibald. A high owl, by the way. My comrade, familiar, and the only living being in this realm capable of ruthlessly criticizing my culinary skills and my blowout. That's not a mouse, Archie. That's eel sushi from the delivery place around the corner, I sighed, collapsing onto the soft sofa. And I can hear your thoughts telepathically. Stop calling my dinner a rotting corpse of a fish. Your brain operates on the frequency of a radio station for the criminally insane, my dear. Archibald silently fluttered from the balcony to the back of the armchair, twisting his head a full 180 degrees. Besides, true dragons of antiquity feasted on knights in full armor, not rice and soy sauce out of plastic containers. Higher beings have truly fallen. I officially declare this as a representative of the winged intelligentsia. Knights are terribly hard to digest. Far too much iron. Gives you the worst heartburn, I muttered, stretching lazily. A barely perceptible golden spark raced across my skin. It was an unmistakable, intoxicating sensation. Deep within my human chest beat an entirely different heart. Not a tiny 300-gram organ, but a blazing core capable of melting basalt. The human shell was convenient, but sometimes it felt suffocatingly tight. Shall we fly? Archie asked with hopeful abandon, his huge yellow eyes flashing brilliantly. Cloud cover is exquisite, visibility is 0, and the river fog is so thick even military radar will flatline. Only after work. I pulled a thick craft paper folder from my bag that had been delivered this very morning. We have a new case, and by the looks of it, a fascinating one. Archie tilted his head, letting out a sharp click of his beak. Another cheating oligarch? Or finding a stolen Pomeranian? A disappearance. I opened the folder, scattering photographs across the glass coffee table. A young man, Kyle Vance, 27 years old. An architect, restorer of antique buildings, single, no bad habits, friends call him eccentric, and the police are throwing their hands up. Vanished 3 days ago straight out of his locked-from-the-inside workshop. Staring up from the photograph were startlingly vivid, dark brown eyes. The guy had slightly tousled dark hair, an open smile, and the defiant gaze of someone who saw something in old brick walls that everyone else missed. I ran the tip of my finger across the photograph. At that exact instant, my dragon senses vibrated faintly, an ancient, telepathic resonance. I frowned. Strange. What's strange? Archie fluttered closer, jabbing a talon at the snapshot. Just a standard biped. Handsome enough, for your species. Could easily pass for an acceptable scarecrow in a vegetable patch. He didn't just vanish, Archie. His biofield in this picture, it isn't entirely human. Or rather, he touched something higher before he evaporated. The owl instantly braced himself, his feathers fluffing up in agitation. Don't tell me the nameless ones are involved, or, gods forbid, the regulatory order. I don't know. I stood up and walked over to the panoramic window. Outside, the evening city hummed, washed clean by the cold autumn rain. But to find out, we need to retrace his final route, and we need to do it from above. 10 minutes later, we were on the skyscraper's roof. Up here, at a height of 300 meters, the wind tore at my clothes and forced me to take a full, deep breath. I shed my trench coat and jeans, leaving them tucked inside a weatherproof ventilation housing. Go on, girl, Archie cooed quietly, perching on the edge of the parapet. Put on a show. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. My human heart stopped for a fraction of a second. Then, a wave of liquid fire surged from the very center of my soul. My bones cracked as they violently restructured, expanding massively. My skin armored itself in heavy, shimmering, dark emerald scales that cast a metallic sheen. From my shoulder blades, with a deafening rustle, burst colossal, leathery wings. My stature multiplied tenfold. My tail, tipped with a heavy spiked crest, lashed out, nearly clipping a satellite antenna, and my human vision was replaced by the sweeping dragon spectrum. I perceived the city not in the weak glow of street lamps, but as an intricate web of energetic ley lines, ancient magic, thermal heat signatures, and the racing thoughts of millions. I emitted a low, rumbling growl that set off every car alarm within a 1-kilometer radius simultaneously. Dive into the fog, I projected mentally to the familiar. Archibald spread his silent wings and plunged like a stone off the roof, while I pushed off with powerful hind legs, making the concrete foundation groan in protest, and soared straight up into the low, heavy storm clouds hanging over the megacity. Flying over the nocturnal city is the absolute definition of absolute freedom. Down below, microscopic metal boxes of cars scuttled about, blinking red and white lights. But here, in the realm of clouds, stinging rain, and howling cold winds, I was the undisputed mistress of the skies. Archie flew alongside me, his mental voice ringing crisp and clear inside my mind. Where to first? His workshop on the industrial outskirts? Yes, we need his residual mental imprint. If Kyle made contact with something anomalous, an etheric footprint should still linger. We descended over an old industrial district where 19th century red brick factories huddled amidst modern distribution warehouses. Kyle's workshop occupied the top floor of a former textile mill. I hovered in midair, beating my wings silently to generate powerful downdrafts that parted the clinging fog. Archie slipped through a small, shattered window, while I pressed my snout against a massive, arched studio window, peering inside. The workshop was buried under stacks of architectural blueprints, wood and plaster scale models, fragments of antique stucco, and canvases. The thick scent of printer's ink, dust, and ozone hung heavily in the air. "Archie, do you sense it?" I transmitted. "Ozone and burnt sulfur. There was a dimensional breach here, Nora. But not of dragon origin. Something from the realm of first-order higher beings. Someone forced a portal." I concentrated, cranking my telepathic sight up to maximum output. The room's spatial matrix shifted into ghostly hues. I began to view recordings of past events. There sat Kyle at his desk, head in his hands. His thoughts held no panic, only pure, unadulterated awe and an insatiable thirst for discovery. He had decoded an ancient schematic. Resting before him was an arcane tome bearing the sigil of a coiled serpent. Now he stood up, walked to the brick wall, and traced his finger along the aged masonry. At that exact moment, space ripped open. Blinding silver radiance erupted from the fissure. A figure emerged, tall, ethereal, woven entirely from cold luminescence. A higher being. They spoke of something. Kyle showed no fear. He took a step forward, reached out, and took the being by the hand, and both vanished. "He went willingly," I said with a note of lingering astonishment through our mental link. "The fool," the owl grumbled, circling beneath the ceiling rafters. "Surrendering himself to the higher ones? They treat mortals like disposable batteries for their ethereal gardens, or as curiosities in a menagerie." "No, look at his emotions." I peered deeper into the fading phantom trace. He was searching for them. His entire life, he hunted for proof that our world is more than just reinforced concrete and 9-to-5 jobs. He was searching for miracles. My dragon heart contracted with a strange, unfamiliar ache. This human possessed that exact same desperate yearning for true magic that I constantly muffled beneath daily drudgery and detective casework. "Where is the exit vector?" I asked Archie. "The etheric trail leads toward the old water tower by the river, but the portal is unstable. If we don't pull him out before dawn, the higher ones will drag him up to the higher tiers of reality, and from there, a mortal never returns. His physical shell simply atomizes. Then we fly for the tower." We raced above the river, slicing through the mist. Jagged flashes of high-altitude lightning illuminated my scales, and had any human below bothered to look up, they would have caught sight of a breathtakingly vast, shadowy silhouette resembling an ancient mythical titan or a storm cloud of impossible proportions. The dilapidated water tower loomed over the abandoned industrial zone like a forsaken feudal keep. Atop its peak, a sickly silver cocoon pulsed sickly light. I landed heavily upon the tower's dome, making the ancient brickwork shudder beneath my mass. My talons ground deep into the iron roofing plates. Inside the silver cocoon, frozen like an insect trapped in amber, stood Kyle. Hovering before him was a higher being, an androgynous entity fashioned from pure, frigid light, slowly siphoning the young man's vital essence away. Kyle remained locked in a deep trance, eyes closed, a beatific smile frozen upon his lips. "Hey there, glowing stick," I snarled, dropping my vocal projection into a thunderous, telepathic roar that shattered the energy cocoon with fine spiderweb cracks. "Find yourself another power outlet." The higher entity spun around, It possessed no face, yet I felt its absolute glacial contempt radiating through the air. "A dragon?" resonated the multi-layered, holographic voice of the entity in my mind. "You have lowered yourself to defending this insignificant worm." He surrendered his fate willingly in exchange for ultimate truth. "He didn't know the price." I took a step forward, 2-meter-long tongues of white-hot flame erupting from my nostrils to instantly illuminate the dark sky in a violent orange glare. "Besides, I hold the exclusive private investigation license for this city, and you're operating without a permit." "Ah, dragon humor, as primitive as ever," hissed the entity, whipping forward a lash woven from pure photonic light. The whip cracked across my shoulder. My armor scales held, but the impact felt like a searing iron rod being driven deep into my flesh. I roared, flaring my wings wide, and unleashed what higher beings feared above all else: primal dragonfire, capable of burning away the very fabric of magic itself. A tidal wave of fire consumed the tower's apex. The higher entity shrieked, a sound akin to shattering crystal, and unable to withstand the ancient elemental wrath, dissolved completely, tearing the anchor portal apart with it. The cocoon burst. Robbed of support, Kyle plummeted downward from a 30-meter height. "Nora, the kid is falling!" shrieked Archibald, diving headfirst in pursuit. I reacted purely on instinct. Arching my neck in a lightning-fast motion, I swept my massive paw, cushioned with heavy, thick underscales, directly beneath his falling form. Kyle crashed straight into my open palm. He gasped loudly, coughing from the residual smoke, and slowly fluttered his eyes open. I froze, not daring to twitch a single muscle. A colossal, ancient leviathan cradling a fragile human being in its palm. Vertical, golden slits in my eyes met his gaze, filled with shock, sudden awareness, and an absence of fear. He stared straight up at me. At my massive snout, the curling wisps of smoke venting from my maw, and the vast wings eclipsing the stars. "You," he whispered, raising a trembling hand to brush his fingertips gently against the emerald scales of my nose. "You're real. You actually exist." His thoughts at that precise moment were completely transparent to my telepathy. No terror, no panic, only deafening, absolute awe, and a profound, staggering warmth. "Sleep," I projected gently into his mind, coaxing his consciousness softly into slumber, using a delicate mental pulse. Kyle went limp in my palm. Archibald fluttered down to rest upon my shoulder, breathing heavily. "Well, well, well. And what on earth do we do with him now? Leave him on the police station doorstep with a festive bow?" I curled my fingers inward slightly, sheltering the sleeping man from the cold, falling drizzle. "No. I'm taking him home." 3 days passed. Kyle woke up in his own bed. The official narrative, which I had meticulously planted into municipal police records and passed along to his clients, claimed the young man had fallen victim to a rare hallucinogenic gas leak originating from an abandoned chemical plant, wandered off in a daze, and was eventually recovered by private investigator Nora to be safely returned to normal life. The agency received a very generous payout for the job, but the case didn't end there. Because Kyle walked straight back into my office the very next day, carrying a massive bouquet of peonies and 2 cups of coffee from the finest downtown roastery. "Nora, I don't know how to thank you," he said, sitting across from my desk in the brightly lit office. The police claim you tracked me down via my phone's GPS tracker, but I know it happened differently. I nearly choked on my coffee, maintaining a masterclass poker face. Whatever do you mean, Kyle? You were suffering from severe acute toxic delirium. Delirium? He flashed that exact same open, slightly cocky smile that caused my inner dragon core to squeeze with sweet anticipation. Nora, I remember a massive emerald creature. I remember wings. And I remember a voice inside my head. It sounded every bit as warm as yours does when you talk to me right now. Archibald, perched on a decorative wooden stand in the corner disguised as a stuffed taxidermy owl, his acting skills were top tier, though I could hear him mentally snorting with suppressed laughter, let out a faint rustle. He's got your number, great beast of antiquity, the familiar hissed mentally. Confess now, or I'm about to drop a potted ficus plant straight onto his stylish loafers. Shut up, Archie, I snapped back mentally, shifting my gaze firmly back to Kyle. We started seeing each other. At first, under the thin pretense of following up on loose case details, then just because. We strolled through the winding streets of the evening city, talking about architecture, ancient mythologies, distant stars, and good food. With every passing day, every gesture, every shared laugh, I realized something terrifyingly clear. I, an ancient higher being dwelling on Earth for millennia, had fallen head over heels in love with an ordinary human man. And it was a complete catastrophe. Because this evening, Kyle had invited me over to his place for dinner. He had cooked an incredible pasta, lit candles, and was currently standing by his cozy living room window holding 2 glasses of red wine. Nora, he said softly, turning to face me, I need to tell you something. Over these past few weeks, you've become the most important person in my life. I feel an unbelievable connection between us, as if we've known each other for eternity. I sat on the sofa, clutching my napkin with white knuckles. My telepathic hearing caught every single nuance of his thought stream. He was entirely sincere, his pulse racing fast and true. He was about to kiss me. Meanwhile, a massive emerald dragon inside my mind was screaming in full panic. How? Just how do I tell him? I broadcasted frantically into the ether. Perched outside on the window ledge, shivering slightly from the rain, sat Archibald. His mental reply dripped with pure sarcasm. Well, try the classic approach. Darling, you're wonderful, but on weekends I transform into a 20-meter reptile, eat higher beings for breakfast, and read your mind. For instance, right now you're wondering if you put too much garlic in the sauce. Very romantic, I'd say. Archie, I am going to pluck you featherless, I threatened. Kyle walked closer, placed the glasses down on the coffee table, and sat beside me. He took my hand in his. His palm felt warm and reassuringly alive. Nora, you seem sad lately, and sometimes I get the distinct impression you're hiding something, a massive secret. You can trust me with absolutely anything. I'll understand, honestly. I looked up into his warm, trusting brown eyes. Deep inside, human tenderness and ancient draconic magic intertwined. I knew that sooner or later, I would have to lay my cards on the table. To explain how my species came to dwell on this earth, why we hide among mortals, and what my true standing is among the higher powers. Yet right now, he was looking at me as if I were the most breathtaking creation in the entire universe. "Kyle," I began softly, feeling a familiar golden spark flicker to life beneath the skin of my fingertips. "About that night on the tower, and about who I really am. Are you truly ready to hear the truth?" Kyle smiled, squeezed my hand tighter, and answered quietly, "I'm ready for anything, Nora, as long as you stay right here with me." I took a deep breath. It was time for the most important conversation of my life.